In the heart of 12th century Paris, the city hummed with life, the streets alive with scholars, merchants, and travelers. The Grand University of Paris was a beacon for young minds eager to learn, where ideas were treasured above gold. Among the scholars who walked its cobbled streets was a man named Pierre Abelard, a thinker whose sharp intellect and daring questions challenged even the most established teachers. Abelard was known for his brilliance, but also for his restless spirit. He could not simply accept the world as it was. One day, a young woman arrived at the doors of Abelard's study. She was Heloise, a girl of exceptional mind and curiosity, sent by her uncle to be educated under the finest scholar in Paris. Heloise's reputation for intelligence had already reached Abelard's ears, and when he first saw her, he was struck not only by her beauty, but by the fire of her intellect. She had a quick mind and a sharp wit, and in her eyes shone the eagerness to learn that Abelard so admired. Their first lessons were a dance of thought and words. Abelard posed challenging questions about philosophy, ethics, and the mysteries of life. Heloise answered with courage, never hesitant to question him, even to correct him when she found a flaw in his reasoning. In the beginning, Abelard felt only admiration for her mind, delighting in the rare challenge she presented. Yet as weeks passed, something deeper began to bloom. Every word she spoke lingered in his thoughts. Every glance seemed to echo in his heart. Heloise, too, felt an unfamiliar flutter. She had respected many scholars before, but none had stirred her in the way Abelard did. His mind was a puzzle, but his heart, she sensed, was kind and warm. Paris, with its bustling streets and quiet libraries, became their secret world. They would walk together through gardens hidden behind abbeys, discussing questions that had no easy answers. They argued with passion, laughed at the subtle ironies of life, and often stayed late into the evening, lost in conversation. Slowly, the friendship between teacher and student deepened into something neither could name, yet both felt. One rainy afternoon, as the sun fell behind gray clouds and droplets tapped against the windows of Abelard's study, Heloise asked a question that would change everything. She said softly, "Do you believe that the heart can understand the mind's truths, or must it remain a stranger to them?" Abelard looked at her, caught off guard by the weight in her words. He realized that his admiration for her intellect had become intertwined with a longing he could not ignore. Their connection had moved beyond knowledge. It had become a bond of hearts. Yet even in the warmth of their growing closeness, a shadow loomed. Society had strict rules, and a relationship between a scholar and a young woman of noble family was forbidden. Abelard and Heloise knew their feelings, if discovered, could invite scandal and separation, but the pull between them was stronger than any fear. The thrill of their secret exchanges, of their private world of thought and care, made the heart race and the mind ache with longing. One evening, under the soft glow of candlelight, Abelard placed his hand gently over Heloise's as they pored over a manuscript. The touch was electric, and for the first time, words failed them both. In silence, their hearts spoke louder than any language. In that quiet, Abelard realized he could no longer hide the depth of his feelings. He looked into her eyes and said, "Heloise, your mind has taught me many things, but your heart has taught me more than I ever expected." Heloise's breath caught. She wanted to speak, to confess the love she had tried to keep hidden, but fear and propriety held her tongue. Still, in that moment, both knew that their bond had crossed a threshold and nothing would ever be the same again. From that day forward, every lesson, every shared walk, every quiet conversation was infused with a new intensity. Paris seemed brighter, and yet the threat of separation always lingered like a shadow. Abelard and Heloise were caught in the tension between desire and restraint. Their love, unspoken yet undeniable, had begun a love that would test every limit of courage, faith, and intellect. Time passed, and the secret of Abelard and Heloise's growing affection became harder to conceal. The intensity of their bond could no longer be contained within the walls of the study or the quiet paths of hidden gardens. Every glance and every smile carried the weight of unspoken emotions. Yet both knew the world outside their small sanctuary would never understand a love born of intellect and soul rather than convenience or wealth. Heloise struggled with conflicting feelings. Her uncle had arranged for her education in the hope that she would become wise, virtuous, and respected. She respected him deeply and felt loyalty to his guidance, and yet her heart yearned for Abelard in a way that defied reason. Abelard, for his part, felt the same torment. His desire to protect Heloise and to preserve her reputation clashed with the raw longing he felt whenever she was near. Despite the risks, they could not resist each other. They wrote letters filled with tender thoughts, philosophical musings, and subtle confessions of affection. In these letters, they revealed their innermost selves, their hopes and their fears. The act of writing became a lifeline, a way to nurture their connection when the world demanded distance. But their closeness did not go unnoticed. Rumors began to swirl in the university circles, whispers that threatened to tarnish both their reputations. Heloise's uncle grew suspicious, warning her to maintain proper decorum and to resist the charms of a man whose freedom and ambition might not align with her welfare. Abelard, too, faced scrutiny from fellow scholars who questioned the propriety of his attention to a young female student. The tension mounted, and their private world grew fragile under the pressure of public expectation. One evening, during a lesson in Abelard's study, Heloise's hand trembled as she held a parchment. "I fear," she said quietly, "that our hearts will be punished for daring to care so deeply." Abelard reached for her hand, his eyes full of compassion and defiance. "If our love is wrong in the eyes of the world, it is not wrong in the eyes of our hearts. We must be cautious, yes, but I will not deny the truth of what I feel for you." The days that followed were filled with tenderness and fear. Every encounter carried a heightened sense of urgency, as if time itself were conspiring against them. They met in quiet corridors, exchanged secret notes, and shared fleeting moments that felt both eternal and fleeting. Each touch, each whispered word was charged with the knowledge that it could be their last. Eventually, the pressure became too great. Heloise's uncle insisted that she be removed from Abelard's tutelage. The thought of separation was unbearable, yet neither could openly defy the family or the rules of society. In a desperate bid to preserve their love, Abelard proposed marriage, hoping to shield Heloise from the judgment of the world while legitimizing their bond. Heloise, torn between devotion to her uncle and the love that had transformed her life, agreed reluctantly. Their marriage was conducted quietly, without ceremony, without fanfare. It was a union of hearts, forged in secrecy, celebrated only in the silent knowledge of their devotion. Yet even this small triumph carried consequences. Word eventually reached Heloise's uncle, who reacted with fury. In his eyes, Abelard had betrayed trust and defied authority. The wrath of society closed in, threatening to shatter the fragile happiness they had fought so hard to claim. The anger of Heloise's family could not be quelled. The private marriage, meant to protect their love, only intensified the scandal. Abelard, knowing that public scandal would ruin both of them, made a painful decision. He suggested that Heloise be sent to a convent, a place where her honor could be preserved and where society's scrutiny would have less power. Heloise was devastated. The thought of leaving Abelard, even temporarily, filled her with anguish. Yet she trusted him, as she had always done, knowing his decision came from love and not cruelty. "If this is the path you believe will save us," she said, her voice trembling, "then I will follow. but my heart will never leave yours." Abelard held her close, tears in his eyes, silently vowing that he would never forget her, never cease to love her, no matter the distance. Heloise entered the convent, where she was cloistered from the world she had known. Life there was disciplined and solemn, yet she found solace in study, prayer, and reflection. She poured her heart into letters to Abelard, letters that revealed the depth of her longing, the ache of absence, and the intensity of her love. Abelard, in turn, remained in Paris, continuing his scholarly work, but consumed by thoughts of Heloise. Every lecture, every debate, every book he wrote carried her presence in his mind. The separation was a cruel test of their devotion. Both were surrounded by society's rules, yet neither could suppress the love that defined their existence. Abelard's letters spoke of longing and hope, urging Heloise to remain steadfast in faith and intellect. Heloise's responses were filled with courage and reflection, exploring their shared philosophy, their dreams, and the pain of their forced distance. Time passed, yet their bond only grew stronger. The world outside could attempt to control them, to dictate what was proper, but it could not touch the hearts that had already been intertwined. Their love had matured, shaped by suffering, by restraint, and by the constant presence of the other in memory and thought. In their sacrifice, they discovered a new depth of devotion, one that was intellectual, spiritual, and profoundly emotional. Years later, Abelard and Heloise continued their separate lives, yet the connection between them remained unbroken. Abelard became a respected teacher and philosopher, admired not only for his brilliance, but for the depth of wisdom that suffering and love had given him. Heloise rose to prominence within her convent, guiding other women in education and faith, revered for her intellect, compassion, and courage. Though they were apart, their letters to each other became legendary, documents of love, intellect, and spiritual kinship. In them, they shared their thoughts on life, morality, and devotion, blending romance with profound philosophical insight. These letters revealed a love that transcended physical presence, a love that thrived in the meeting of minds as much as in the beating of hearts. Abelard and Heloise never reunited in the worldly sense, but in spirit, they remained inseparable. Their story spread throughout Paris and beyond, inspiring generations to believe in the power of love guided by intellect, courage, and integrity. They had endured heartbreak, separation, and societal condemnation, yet their devotion never wavered. In their final years, they found peace in the knowledge that their love had changed them, that it had been a force of growth, insight, and beauty. They had learned that true love is not always about possession or proximity. It is about understanding, respect, and unwavering commitment of heart and mind. The tale of Abelard and Heloise became legendary, not only for the romance that endured against all odds, but for the profound lesson it carried, that love, when joined with intellect and courage, can withstand the harshest trials of life. Their names remain forever intertwined, a testament to a love that was as thoughtful as it was passionate, as enduring as it was tender, and as inspiring as it was true.